What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, December 21st, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:05 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela. So a third oil tanker has been boarded today off the coast of Venezuela. The name of this tanker is the Bella 1, and apparently this tanker has been heavily sanctioned and has ties to Middle Eastern terrorist networks, and it was sailing without any valid registration. So apparently this thing was intercepted or is in the process of being intercepted. And what's very interesting is we currently have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert since yesterday. Now, this morning we had two extremely long nuclear targeting codes transmitted, which are known as emergency action messages. There were two 246 character emergency action messages this morning. These are targeting codes for U.S. nuclear forces. The standard length of these codes is 30 characters. Well, we had 246 character messages back to back. So that is extremely rare. And anytime they transmit those very long codes, it's when something is about to go down or is happening. And right now we have 3 U.S. nuclear war command and control planes up in the air over the U.S., which is extremely unusual for a Sunday afternoon, especially before Christmas. Typically you'll see 1 or 2 on any given day, but 3 on a Sunday is very rare, especially before Christmas. We got 1 over California. We have 1 heading out to the Gulf to communicate with some of our submerged nuclear-armed submarines. We have 1 heading into the Midwest right now. These planes can communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines, and they can also remotely launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs. Now, in addition to those nuclear war command and control planes, we also have a lot of other planes active in the Caribbean. We have another U.S. military cargo plane going to Puerto Rico right now. We have a special operations plane leaving Honduras. And then we also have another special operations plane heading down to the Caribbean from Houston. So lots of special operations planes and lots of C-17s moving U.S. military hardware and supplies, and lots of U.S. military cargo planes still going to the Caribbean moving supplies. We also have some encrypted data on one of the U.S. nuclear war frequencies. This is actually a secondary U.S. nuclear war frequency, and it's been transmitting encrypted data since last night. I want to just play a sample for you so you can hear it. So this is known as encrypted radio teletype, or ENRITI, and anytime something big is about to go down, they always have that continuous stream of encrypted RITI on one of the nuclear war frequencies. So I don't know if it's related to this third oil tanker or something completely different. We also have this picture that was released from the U.S. military base in Puerto Rico showing as many as 20 F-35s on the tarmac. These F-35s arrived from Vermont. Check that out, guys. You don't move 20 F-35s for no reason. This is a massive amount of F-35s. Just to put that in perspective, I think Israel has like 50 F-35s. So this is like half of Israel's entire squadron of F-35s moved just a week ago, okay? You don't do that for no reason whatsoever. They're clearly preparing for a massive strike of some sort. Also, we had a B-52 land in Ecuador for the first time in history. It conducted some kind of joint exercise in Ecuador. There's the B-52 taking off from an airfield in Ecuador. So my guess is that Ecuador has opened up their airfields for use by the U.S. military to bomb Venezuela, okay? But this is absolutely massive breaking news. So clearly the U.S. is preparing to use Ecuador to bomb Venezuela. This is massive breaking news. And then here we have more C-17s that left Puerto Rico last night. And I wanted to update you guys on the situation with 3I Atlas, the interstellar object. So we're hearing now that a strange energy burst coincided with 3I Atlas at Earth's closest point. At approximately 0240 UTC time, global monitoring stations tracking Earth's Schumann resonances recorded an anomalous and sharply defined energy burst centered at 25 hertz. The signal appeared 3 hours and 20 minutes before the calculated moment of 3I Atlas's closest approach to Earth. So almost 3.5 hours before it made its closest approach, this strange energy burst. A timing alignment that immediately stood out during review of the data. Unlike common atmospheric disturbances, which present as broadband noise spread across multiple adjacent frequencies, this event was narrowly confined with no meaningful power increase at 24 Hz or 26 Hz. In plain terms, whatever caused this signal was precise, selective, and energetically focused. Schumann resonances are global electromagnetic standing waves generated primarily by lightning activity within the cavity formed by Earth's surface and the ionosphere. Under normal conditions, their frequency bands fluctuate gently, smeared by storms, solar wind interactions, and diurnal atmospheric changes. What appeared at 0240 UTC time was not that. This was not a thunderstorm signature, not an ionospheric noise, and not an instrumentation artifact consistent with local interference. The energy increase was cleanly isolated at 25 Hz, a feature that immediately separated it from typical environmental causes that frequency matters. Okay, so very, very interesting. Observational seismology literature has long identified the 15 to 35 hertz range, and more specifically the 24 to 26 hertz window, as a recurring electromagnetic precursor band preceding certain major earthquakes. Wow. These signals do not announce an imminent quake on their own, but their appearance has been documented ahead of significant seismic events. The last time a comparable Schumann resonance anomaly appeared was just before the December 8th, 2025 magnitude 7.6 earthquake in Japan. So very interesting, guys. Very unusual energy burst coming off of this interstellar object. Wanted to update you guys on that. And we have an update coming in from Taiwan. As part of an $11 billion arms sale to Taiwan approved by the U.S. Department of Defense, the U.S. is expected to transfer 420 ATACMS short-range ballistic missiles for deployment on the Taiwan island, which will specifically be aimed at the Chinese mainland. The sale of 82 HIMARS rocket systems and 420 ATACMS missiles are valued at over $4 billion, with broader arms sales including anti-tank missiles, one-way attack drones, howitzers, and a wide range of other equipment. The transfer of short-range ballistic missiles will allow the Taiwan Army to threaten critical targets on the Chinese mainland, including both key infrastructure and major military facilities, marking a major escalation in American arms supplies. Wow. 420 ATACMS missiles pointed right at critical targets in China. That is huge news. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And in case you guys missed the big news yesterday, there was a second oil tanker seized yesterday off the coast of Venezuela. It was a Panamanian-flagged super tanker carrying up to 2 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil bound for China. The oil was owned by a Chinese company. Wow. So you see what's going on here. China's getting their oil from Venezuela, and we're intercepting that oil. China's not going to be too happy about that. And a U.S. official told the Associated Press this was a consented boarding and that the vessel voluntarily stopped to allow U.S. forces to board. And Venezuela says it received an offer of support from Iran to confront piracy by the U.S. So Iran showing solidarity with Venezuela. And remember a couple days ago when Putin said it would be a fatal mistake if the U.S. attacked Venezuela. And the president of Brazil warned of catastrophic consequences if the U.S. intervened in Venezuela, saying that it would cause a humanitarian disaster. Also, interestingly, there's an airspace reservation off the coast of Florida on December 22nd for military and special high-altitude operations off of Tampa. Looks like about 200 miles off of the western coast of Florida. And the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth reversed the policy on landmine production and deployment, which is very interesting. And just earlier this week, Poland announced that they were going to be mass producing landmines in 2026. Japan just conducted a test of its new Type 12 anti-ship missile, which has a reported range exceeding 1,000 kilometers. And a major power outage hit the San Francisco area last night after a fire broke out at a substation. Apparently millions of people were left without power, and there's still a large amount of people without power today, but looks like at least half or three-quarters of the electricity has been restored. Now, they are blaming this on the weather conditions, the atmospheric river, which has been generating massive winds in the western states. But it could have potentially been some kind of sleeper attack. Who knows? I mean, we know a while back when there was an attack on the Metcalf substation in Central California, there were some sleeper cells shooting at this substation with AK-47s in the middle of the night. And, you know, thank God that they didn't actually take out the substation, because that would have left a lot of people without power. for a long period of time, but they did try to do that years ago at the Metcalf facility. And Western intelligence agencies have detected unusual activity involving the IRGC Air Force in Iran, including coordinated drone, missile, and air defense movements beyond normal patterns, prompting heightened monitoring, sources tell Iran International. And we're hearing that Netanyahu will urge Trump to strike Iran's missile production and storage locations, air defenses, and nuclear enrichment sites in a meeting at Mar-a-Lago later this month. According to intelligence assessments, Iran could produce up to 3,000 ballistic missiles per month. There's also concerns about the restoration of nuclear facilities that were bombed by the U.S., but the rapid expansion of the ballistic missile program and the restoration of air defenses are considered an urgent threat by Israel. Okay, so Netanyahu's going to push Trump to strike Iran's missile sites, which is something they have not done yet. Okay, they hit Fordow, which was largely a demonstration strike. Yes, they did do some damage, but they didn't cripple Iran's nuclear enrichment. You know, Iran has dozens and hundreds of bunkers across their country that they can easily continue enriching uranium in, okay? But the missile sites have not been hit yet, and Israel wants to take those missile sites out. They have all these bunkers built into mountains with what they call missile cities. These are just bunkers, massive bunkers under 7,000 foot mountains stuffed with missiles, okay, which is a huge threat to Israel. And I've showed you guys all these facilities in the live streams. I mean, there's just countless bunkers like that across Iran. Iran is a very mountainous country. They have really tall mountains. The whole country of Iran is like the Rocky Mountains, okay? Massive mountains and deep valleys, and they can easily hide things in those mountains. So that's probably why the Iranians have placed their Air Force on high alert, including missile and air defenses, okay, because they're anticipating some kind of Israeli strike, which I think could happen in early 2026. So when that happens, I will be going live and I will be updating you guys accordingly. And Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, made some comments yesterday. He said some partners are delaying the delivery of air defense missiles to Ukraine. In particular, this is because intimidation from Russia and provocations in Europe have had an effect on Europeans. He also said Ukraine will not be able to independently maintain an 800,000 strong army after a ceasefire. Therefore, support from partners is needed, which would serve as a security guarantee until the economy recovers after the war. And I want you guys to pay attention to what he said about the territories. This is huge news, and this is why I believe the peace plan will fail. There will not be any peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine cannot withdraw from its territories. There is neither the possibility nor the desire to do so, and the Ukrainian people do not want this either. Ukraine controls parts of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions and is not going to leave its territories, okay? So, you know, Zelensky making it clear he's not giving up territories. There's no desire in Ukraine to give up territories. And if he did do that, the Ukrainian people would be really mad at him, okay? So for his own political survival, you know, he can't just give away a third of his country. You know, no leader of any country would survive as a politician after doing that. It would be like if Mexico invaded Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and then Russia told us that we have to just surrender that to Mexico, and Trump said, yeah, okay, you can have it, Mexico. I'm sure a lot of people would be pissed off about that. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Putin actively influenced the appointment of Steve Witkoff as Trump's chief negotiator with Russia on Ukraine. And Tulsi Gabbard denied claims that U.S. intelligence warns Vladimir Putin's plans to take over all of Ukraine and reclaim parts of Europe once controlled by the Soviet Union. So remember earlier this week there was that intelligence report stating that Putin wanted to take Ukraine and the Baltics and also possibly to attack Poland but not occupy it. Well, she's refuting that claim, and she's saying that that's all the neocons. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with another live stream. If you enjoy this channel, please consider supporting it. Join my Patreon. Check out my sponsors. Consider a donation to my PayPal if you want me to continue to do these videos regularly or full time. Please consider supporting my channel. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video.